If the NHL series between NHL 20 and NHL 23 could be summed up in one word, it would be stale. Freshening up a formula between annual releases is definitely something every sports franchise struggles with, but it's EA's hockey series in particular that's been in a real slump. NHL 24, thankfully, is not that. It breaks the cycle and reinvigorates the on-ice action with some meaningful new ideas and significantly harder-hitting body checks. Unfortunately, while the gameplay feels updated, not much is done with it, as the collection of modes available feels as standard as ever. What finally brings the thrills back to hockey this year is the new sustained pressure system. When the offensive team stays in the attacking zone, they'll slowly build up a pressure gauge. Once that gauge is full, they'll gain a boost to passing accuracy and speed. Meanwhile, the defense will suffer from faster stamina depletion as they try to fight off the opposing team. This adds a layer of excitement to the gameplay that the series has been needing for a long time. Being smart and using exhaustion to your advantage can lead to a true sense of urgency in crucial make-or-break moments. There's no denying that the exhaust engine heavily favors the offensive team, but it's not necessarily as overpowered as it sounds. The effect is temporary, and it does take time for the pressure gauge to fill, giving the defense time to head it off. But there's nothing that seems to balance out the debuffs that the defense has to contend with either. The offense is rewarded for sustaining pressure in the attack zone, so why is the defense not rewarded the longer that they go successfully protecting the net? There needs to be a more even push-pull to this system. These gripes aside, it's a mechanic that shows a ton of promise, and hopefully it's something that's expanded upon next year. It certainly impacts gameplay much more than the dull X-Factor system introduced in NHL 22.
What a shot!
Another highlight of NHL 24's gameplay is its revamped contact-based physics system. Body checks require more effort to pull off this time around, as you have to charge a check by holding down on the right stick before you can execute it. This means players now have a real sense of weight and momentum as they're hurtling down the ice,
And it stays out!
which makes every check feel nice and crunchy. Enhanced ragdoll animations can even send the opposing team flipping through the air, and it's a sight that never gets old. There's some actual risk-reward strategy involved with checking now, since you'll stumble on the ice and make yourself vulnerable if your check doesn't connect. It might sound like a subtle change, but it can really encourage you to rethink your playstyle on the fly depending on how the game is going. If you're facing a team with higher defensive stats, then it's usually better to focus on timing checks for clutch moments like passes rather than going for riskier ones that might result in a penalty.
Suzuki's won the faceoff.
NHL 24 also introduces vision passing, which pops up a face button icon over teammates' heads to let you be more in control of your passing anywhere on the ice. This is a great idea, in theory. In practice, having to hold down the pass button, looking for a good passing opportunity, visually register which face button corresponds to the teammate you're trying to pass to, and do it all while trying to deke around the opposing team is a multitasking nightmare.
Covers it up and we'll get a stoppage in play.
It can actually hinder moment-to-moment gameplay, as it makes the screen look completely inscrutable while in movement. It's not uncommon to find yourself shoved into boards or bulldozed over because you get too caught up in looking for the right button. Worse, there are plenty of times when a simple play is actively messed up by the visual clutter. One of the most surprising additions is a new game mode this year that's actually unique in comparison to what's already offered. Hut moments allow you to relive iconic moments in hockey for yourself in a way that's very much comparable to the Jordan Challenge or Mamba moments in NBA 2K. There's over 50 moments to recreate at launch, with more on the way. You can play through Marie-Philip Poulin's historic backhanded 100th career goal that she achieved earlier this year, or feel the pressure to replicate Sidney Crosby's stunning shootout victory against the Montreal Canadiens back in 2005. Even if you're not someone who's a fan of these modes in the slightest, it's hard to deny how nice it is to see hockey history represented in an interactive way. It's not exactly a groundbreaking addition, but it's a new mode that has purpose, which is more that can be said for everything else. That effectively sums up the changes to NHL 24 beyond the expected roster updates. Offline modes remain almost identical to last year, with the biggest casualty to this lack of innovation being the career mode, Be a Pro, which last saw a big refresh back in NHL 21. Cutscenes still have stiff animations and no voice acting, giving them an eerie vibe that looks like you're watching animatronics at a theme park pretending to have a conversation. Other sports games like NBA 2K and formerly the FIFA series have much more involved cinematic single-player campaigns, and to say Be a Pro seems outdated by comparison is a massive understatement. Rising through a personal hockey career should be compelling, but Be a Pro manages to do nothing but bore. The rest of the updates are steps in the wrong direction. NHL gets a major change this year as you no longer unlock new gear by opening hockey bags full of random loot. Instead of loot boxes, there's, wait for it, a Battle Pass! There's already been a ton said about Battle Pass fatigue and the way that games are fighting for our constant attention and commitment, so there's no real point in rehashing that argument. So to be completely upfront, if this first season is anything to go by, the Premium Battle Pass is only going to be for the most dedicated World of NHL players. Is progressing through a Battle Pass better than relying on luck-based hockey bags? Sure, in the grand scheme of things, but unlike hockey bags, the Premium Battle Pass will cost money, and the one for NHL 24's first season is far from impressive. The rewards for every tier come across more as lackluster afterthoughts rather than compelling incentives to play. Some of the new goal celebrations are cute, but honestly, all of the unique unlockable seasonal gear is just kinda ugly. A large portion of the rewards are dedicated to different colored camo covered in skulls, which is just boring. And then there's the angry turkey face mask, which gives your character a turkey beak, just in case you wanted some nightmare fuel to go along with your hockey this Thanksgiving season. You're rewarded with a set of animated gear when you complete all levels of the Premium Battle Pass, but even that is bland in its design. It's hard to imagine anyone setting time aside in their schedule to grind out some games in the world of NHL Pass to gain new tiers, which is bad since the whole point of this system is to get us to keep coming back to unlock seasonal goodies. But that doesn't really matter when there's been a ton of server issues since launch. Mainly, the problem is that it takes absolute ages to get into games. There's often long queue times after finding a team, and you might even wait over 5 minutes to launch that mode to get treated to an EA server error screen. It's definitely not worth the level of aggravation. What's new in NHL 24 shows a lot of promise. The exhaust engine introduces satisfying mechanics that makes the game feel more intense, though refinement to its balance is needed to keep the defensive team competitive. The improved checking system and the inclusion of hut moments are significant additions as well compared to the last couple of years. However, most of the returning game modes remain nearly untouched, and the introduction of a Battle Pass, along with some annoyingly long wait times to get into games, make it hard to cheer for any progress that has been made on the ice. For more sports games, make sure to check out our reviews of EA Sports FC 24 and NBA 2K24. And for everything else, stick with IGN.